This is sales script presentation number two. Patrick Driscoll, professional selling MBA 671. Today I'll be working with Andrew, my customer, and we will go in three, two, one. Andrew, glad we could finally get introduced and have this meeting. So good to finally connect. Pat with Aqueous Vets shakes hands business card. Sounds like you wanted to go through some other vessel options prior to your meeting with the city. Well, I'm here to help.
Hey, good morning, Pat. Yes, that would be great to help me and my team
Yeah,
as I'm the
thanks.
head engineer on the project. Excuse me.
No worries. Thanks again so much, Andrew, for setting up this meeting. I'm glad we could make it work. I know you and your team are busy this time of year. I did not see too much information in the email, but what is the main driver for having the meeting and presentation today?
Well, our end user, the city, is pretty set on your competition, and they have been referred to them and also have used them in the past. However, with this funding mechanism, we feel it dutiful to at least consider other options. So I appreciate getting the opportunity to learn more about AV and their offering.
Andrew, that sounds great. And I'm always more than happy to help and have a presentation to help clients like yourself understand their options. AV has been supporting clients in the exact same situations as the landscape of drinking water continues to change. I know Vince and his team really appreciate our presentation, and I'm sure that's why he referred me to you. Before we jump in, I'd like to confirm that we have a half an hour for this meeting slash presentation. Is that correct?
Unfortunately, I did have a meeting to come up, so I only have 15 minutes for you today. Is that going to be an issue?
Certainly, no worries at all. Vince stated in his referral that you were looking at a similar situation to him. I'd like to go over potential solutions that AV can provide with our offering in terms of use with your engineering firm. And then finally, as the city is ultimately tied in with their funding, I'd like to discuss financial benefits of AV system. That is really important to us as we consider the entire life cycle of the project, not just the initial sale. Anything else I need to consider?
No, that all sounds perfect. Thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you. And one last thing I wanted to verify. You're the one who provides final recommendation to the city, correct?
Yes, that's me. I have final say of vendor input, but of course, the decision is ultimately with the city as it's their funding. However, we usually help to guide the decision based on what we feel is the best offering.
Excellent. Thank you for the clarification. Before we look at the solutions, I have a few questions to better understand your needs. You mentioned the city has current treatment in place. Was that relationship established by your team or the client?
That was by the state actually, as it was emergency funding paid for by a lawsuit. So if it was more of an impulse buy to get something up and running. They are an approved vendor, so it made an easy decision.
Thank you for that, Andrew. So can you clarify how that relationship has been since that sale? Have you been able to get what you need from them?
That's a great question. The city would say yes, but I am on the fence. Um, the response times are fast, but everything is standardized. They do not seem to take unique site or client requirements into consideration. For a non-emergency job like this, I think we need to at least consider other options.
I see, and thank you. And tell me more about the thoroughness and customized approaches. It sounds like that's very important to you.
That is correct. We don't just support this client; we support dozens of municipalities currently, and everyone has unique needs and issues. I don't think the cookie cutter approach is warranted. Um, and also, that's why we are here as engineers.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's very important for you to look at various options and really do your homework, even if your client will not. That's how you present your value, correct?
100% correct. You hit it on the head.
Excellent. Now, you stated that you feel the current provider is selling more cookie cutter off the shelf options. With this site having unique restrictions, it's important to have these conversations. Is the current vendor aware that you're taking those into consideration?
They are aware that it's in the RFP. However, they have not had any follow-up or site visits, and the bid is due early next week.
Very interesting. That is surprising to me. There are a lot of things that need to evaluate other than just the system. Something you could miss that makes the install a nightmare.
Yeah, I think there were issues at the other site where the unloading and install were very complicated by the site layout. The operations crew is not very happy with how that unfolded.
I bet they were not. No one wants to spend a lot of money on a new system and then have issues on the install. That's why I'm very glad we could get together today and be on site to review everything. Thank you again for that.
No, I agree, and you're welcome. It's good to walk through other items of concerns that may arise.
Yeah. I appreciate you wanting to look at the opportunity as a whole for the client. That's very aligned with how AV and myself operate. Tell me, beyond the sale and install, what is another area of concern?
O&M costs are very important to me. They're not talked about enough, in my opinion.
I do agree, they are not talked about enough, but can you tell me more about your specific concerns?
Of course. So your system and these building modifications are covered by federal funding. So the client is not concerned. However, we anticipate the system to run for 25 plus years. Uh, I'm not new to the game, so I know there will be a lot of costs associated with that. The client has not really thought about that as their previous sale was so focused on the present in that emergency scenario. The funding only covers install, and the client will be, responsible to cover the rest of that.
Yeah. So if you could find a provider that has taken that exact thing into consideration of their design, that would be a value to you in the city, even if they are not considering it.
Absolutely. They don't want to be stuck holding a larger bill than they already have to.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking the time to answer my questions to help me better understand how to support. In conclusion, you're looking for a reliable partner who will not just help you with the requested system, but also take the entire site into consideration and provide savings over the life cycle of the project to the client. Is that correct?
That would pretty much sum everything up. Yes, sir.
All right. Is there anything else you'd like to discuss before we get into reviewing potential solutions?
No, I think we're all set here. Thank you.
You are welcome. I will go ahead then, being as we are on site. Is it okay if I pull up the presentation on my laptop?
Please do.
Excellent. And to save time, I'll run through these first few slides quickly as we did discuss these items, but want to still reference them. Let me pull that up quickly. I have sent a request to share my laptop. There we go. Thank you. And can you see my presentation?
I certainly can, Pat. Go ahead, do your thing.
Excellent. So, want to start off quickly just on this main page, as we talked about, we are from concept to commission, design to engineering, manufacturing, installation, training, and startup. All right. We're, again, not just involved, sorry, scroll too far. We're not just want to be involved in making the sale. We are interested in being a solutions provider and taking care of you throughout the whole process. Also, what we have here are called the four tenets of pressure vessel design, which you'll hear me talk about a lot. Speaking of which, what are the four tenets of pressure vessel design? Well, we have corrosion management, hydraulic performance, media optimization, and long-term operation and maintenance. Anything that sticks out to you on this page?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like AV has done their homework in considering all the facets of this project.
Absolutely correct. AV came to be because of the inefficiencies we saw in the market. And as discussed before, we wanted to make sure that consider the long-term expenditures to the customer.
That's great to hear. And I'm excited to learn more about how y'all are achieving this.
Great timing, Andrew. The next few slides are some visual aids I really like on showing the four tenets. So to start things off, we look at the internals of these pressure vessels. As you can see here on the left, we have the standards that are in the market. But in the top right, you have our design. What's important here is corrosion comes from many factors, but really the big two we see are the introduction of dissimilar metals and the inability to evenly coat the tank. So we have simplified the design to not have dissimilar metals and the ability to coat the tank. Anything else that sticks out to you here?
Yeah, I mean, from looking at this, I would imagine the O&M, is much simpler in your design as well.
Yeah, very good. Again, to hammer the point home, everything we have done in our design is provide the lower cost of ownership of over 25 years. Would that be something that you would want in your client system?
Yeah, I think that's the ideal scenario for them.
Excellent. For time, I've condensed these next two slides and tenants as they play off of each other already. Um, you know, every system you use, Andrew, they're all going to work the same. They create plug flow, they establish a mass transfer zone. I'm not going to say your competition doesn't do that, your existing sites don't do that. That's how they all operate. But what's important is when we create plug flow, we have the lowest pressure drop through the system. As you can see, we're less than half here. Anything else? And then we also have the lowest media waste here under the nozzles. Anything else that hits home from this slide, Andrew?
Again, it looks like y'all have really evaluated the best options, and that each feature here will provide savings in the long run. Is that a fair summary?
Correct again. You're on fire. Just looking at media usage alone, our minimum delta is 46 cubic feet less waste. Your last bid had a cost of $4,000 per cubic foot of media. So every media cycle, we can save you $8,000 on just one system. Your other sites had six systems, so that's $48,000 saved in one media cycle. Based on your exchange rate, you'd have 10 media cycles over 25 years. That's $480,000 saved for the city. Do you think that's something that'd be of value to the city, Andrew?
I mean, that's pretty incredible to think about. And yes, absolutely. I think that's tremendous value for the city.
Excellent. And I agree. Lastly, we were at our fourth tenant, long-term operation and maintenance. And you've seen throughout that this tenant really does live within other of the tenants, and it's the main goal of everything we do. Hopefully, the top left photo looks familiar. That's our septic drain design. The top right photo is our external ring header. So what also is important is that say if for some reason one of these does break, we can just remove this drain and pop out that nozzle and put it in. You don't have to have confined space entry. You don't have to waste the media that's already inside that. No other vessel on the market can do that. And yeah, what are your thoughts there?
I mean, this is new to me, I will say. It's not something your competitor has ever mentioned. Something I've never considered. I mean, it's almost just too straightforward, right? Why have all of that waste up above when you can pre-engineer and design something that is going to eliminate those requirements you speak of?
My thoughts exactly. And I'm very glad we're having this meeting, Andrew. It's a very important that we consider everything again beyond that initial sale, which I know that you're looking to do for your customer. Great mind things alike, think alike. In this next graphic, we show that sentiment exactly. You know, the cost is a true difference maker. The owner is going to live in the blue pretty much, where you and I will live in the red and the gray. Design is 1 to 2 years, construction's 1 to 2 years, but operation, as we've talked about, 25 to 50 years. So why would we want to shortchange that portion when it's the largest part of the life cycle? That cost difference is a true maker. Is that something that you would look for in a partner?
Oh, absolutely, I would say so. Yes.
Excellent. Now looking at this last graphic, and it's a very powerful testimonial from a customer in California in a similar situation to you. We can see here that AV would save them just over $4,000 a year per system. For that city with 15 systems, that's $1.5 million over 25 years. Now, I know you don't have that large of a system, but your other system was six systems. So your client would be looking to save just over $600,000 a year. Pay that with the carbon savings we talked about earlier of $480,000 a year. We're looking to save over $1 million in 25 years. Again, I have to ask, is that a benefit to the customer, Andrew?
Yeah, of course. Money talks here, Pat. You're hitting on all the right keys.
Well, that's great to hear. And I believe that's a great benefit for the customer as well. Like you said, money talks. Thanks again. These conversations have been excellent. Looks like we're getting close to your cutoff. Still good for just under 2 minutes left?
Yeah, go ahead, Pat.
All right. Well, as we discussed, our offering takes a whole step system approach with the end user in mind at every step. Our four tenants will work in tandem to be efficient and easy to use for your operators. And we have just seen how another site could save you $1 million. What are your thoughts, Andrew? Would you recommend our bid to the city?
Yeah, the solution meets everything that I find important. But it would still be a sell to the city as your bid typically comes in a bit higher for the systems.
I certainly understand that. And as we've talked, money talks, and everything is driven by costs. On the last system bid I did, we were about $3,000 over the competition. And I get it. The city doesn't, want to look at that and have to trust they'll recoup their funds over the life cycle. But I will ask an important question and hope you could ask the city. There is funding up front for these systems, correct? So what about the next 25 years? Who pays that bill? Is it worth it to sacrifice 300,000 in guaranteed funding or pay $1 million out of your own pocket?
It almost doesn't make sense to compare the two, right? It's a great point. These system requirements only being relevant for a couple years, it is hard to think that far down the line. But again, those figures are hard to refute.
I agree, and I want to be aligned with looking out for your client like you do. Can I move forward with our bid knowing you'll solely recommend us? Can I get that bid to you today so I know you can talk to the city prior to the bid date?
Yeah, let's do that. Please submit so I can start my conversations right away.
Excellent. I'll have that to you within an hour.
Well, thanks so much, Pat. Have a great day.
Thank you. You as well.